beautiful family. Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing today? I hope you are doing very, very well. I'm sending you love, happiness, and reinsurance. And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Where's NEVA? So today I have a gift to give to you all. So a few days ago, I did an interactive live with a woman named Zuleka. And she is such an incredible woman. She's from Zambia, and she lives right now in Virginia. And so this is an Instagram friend. I never met her in person, but we will always talk about Africans globally. We will talk about why is there a question of why African Americans don't like Africans, or why Africans don't like African Americans, and we used to just be going back and forth through our DMs. After that, we realized like, yo, we should talk about this on Instagram. Let's create an Instagram live. We're during quarantine. Let's have an open conversation about how to bridge the divide. So we got together a couple days ago and we released this amazing content. This is so live. This is beautiful. And after we did this, it's an hour long. After we did this, people were sending me messages like, Geneva, can you save this? Can you repost this? And I thought the message was so needed that I decided to put it on my YouTube channel. So I hope you enjoy. It is amazing. Zuleka is a phenomenal woman. I will put her information down in the comments, so check her out. And continue. Please subscribe, like, and comment, and enjoy. Love y'all. Hi.
Hello, hello.
Hello, family. Hello, sister friend.
How are you? I don't really go on live, so I don't even know how long it took me to find you, but
because you used to be like, I don't understand why you guys is on live and everything.
Yes.
So look at you on live, y'all. Call her.
I'm
out.
a hypocrite. Y'all can
listen. Call her out. But there's a reason why you're on this live.
That's why it took time for us to get this together. You know what I'm saying? Like we had to make sure we had an actual thing before we got on this.
I agree. I'm trying.
Hello, everybody.
Because I know you love NDRE, so I'm trying to get the mood together.
Get it together. You gotta get it together. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Oh, thank you. Someone said we look like distant relatives. We are.
Listen, that's why we talking. Okay.
That's why this conversation is important. Thank you, guys. Oh, I see people.
Hi, family. Okay, you hear it? You hear the move? Okay, cool.
Get it.
All right, before we start, I would love for you to introduce yourself to my followers and introduce myself to your followers, and then we'll talk about and the reason behind this.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Zuleka. I think as we go on, we'll talk about what identity is and how do I identify, but I am African that migrated to the U.S., so I am an African American, but I identify as African. As everybody know, I like to say I'm African and bold. I'm a headrest enthusiast, so I like to do that from every now and then. I'm currently a full-time PhD student, so I'm poor. Yeah, and I moved to the U.S. Because of the war. I'm from Liberia, West Africa. And then I lived here for a while. I moved back to Liberia for a while to work. And then I came back to the U.S. for school. So I've been back and forth with the continent. And yeah, we always talk about Black people and what it means to be Black and identity. And we always do it in a DM. So I thought this conversation was necessarily, it's timely too, because a lot of people are home. So it's time.
Exactly. Well, welcome. I'm so glad to be having this conversation with you. Yes, this is a much needed conversation, and it's definitely time, because I know you get the same messages that I get in my inbox, because that's why we be talking. I'm like, girl, what did I say to this? What did I say to someone from the continent telling me, like, why do African Americans don't like me? And I'm like, I don't know what to.
I don't know.
Yes, but anyways. My name is Geneva. Hello, family. My name is Geneva. I am a digital and physical content creator, You can check a lot about what I do on my page, on my website, where is NEVA. I'm going to talk briefly about that. But what I love to do is travel back to the continent that my mother was stolen from and stripped away from. And it's important for me to educate my African Americans, or the diaspora altogether, our Africans globally, of why we were taken and what that means to me and my story and the story of my family from what I know. Because I only know a little, okay? And the history is what's stripped away. So it's important to me to build that relationship. And then I found this beautiful lady on Instagram. And I think I found you before you found me. And I slid in that DM, like, girl, I love what you talking about. I love what you do. Listen, can we talk? And so this is our second time being on live. And I'm just so excited to be having a conversation with you.
I am. I got a lot of feedback. Like, I can read some of them. People writing, like, you know, the experiences and things they had to say. So we could just I'll just give some of the feedback and see how you feel about it, and then we could start talking about identity. Why do you identify as that, or some of the experiences you had on the continent? Because I know you were on the continent for a while, had a crazy ride, and then we can go from there.
Definitely.
So I know somebody said they identify as just Black. They don't identify as African American because they don't know what part of Africa to claim. So they just consider themselves Black, and they think that's the right way to be identified as. Another person said they live most of their life in the U.S., but they don't identify as African American because they never liked the name, they never understood. Another person said African American taught me about colorism. I'm African, but they were really hard on us growing up. Another person said, people in Africa are always colder towards us. They think I'm a stranger. I've been to 5 different African countries, and I'm still considered a stranger. Another person said, in my country, Nigeria, we consider them Akata because they are a wanderer. They don't really know where they're from, so we just consider them Akata. Another person said, everybody who's Black all over the world should just consider themselves African because they're African first. So those are some of the feedback that I got from people, and yeah.
Definitely. And we open that question up to you all too. So if you guys want to answer, what do you identify as and why? Why? So
someone just wrote and said, we are African through Asian bloodlines. If you're Black, you're African.
Period. Okay. And I agree. I
can feel that.
Huh?
I said, I can feel that, but to play devil's advocate, the person who said they just consider themselves Black because they don't want to be called African American, I get that a lot from a lot of my friends I went to school with who were Black, because they're like, where do I even start? Especially when you go to an occasion where people are like, I'm from Cameroon, I'm from this, I'm from that, and you're like, I'm Black, I'm just Black. So definitely. At that point, you're like, I don't want to say I'm African American because then someone might ask you what part. So what do you say to that?
Okay, so I identify as both. So I use the words interchangeably. I feel like I'm me, and I don't have to be classified at what that is. When I travel on the continent, I do say I'm African American, but more I say I'm American, so that they understand where I'm from and not have that weird conversation of where you are. But when I was in Tanzania for the second time, and I was in Chipotle, Tanzania, which was a smaller area than like Dar es Salaam and everything like that, they were confused on how I was from America. So it was that type of kind of conversation too. But I feel like those conversations are needed so that we can build this bond. When I'm home, I'll say I'm African American, or I'll say I'm Black. But I don't really have to classify what I am because people can see that. So yeah, I use it.
See, but I think that's what the I think that's what the problem is. This great divide of I'm African, I'm Black, or I'm Afro something, maybe Afro Latina, or I'm Jamaican. But I think the overarching thing, sadly, what connects us is how America sees us, or how America defines us. Yeah. And that's where I don't want to say my problem, but that's where a lot of times when people are so critical of, I'm not African, or I'm not this, don't call me that. And it's like, when you get stopped by the cops.
Wait, repeat that. Wait. When you get stopped by the cops.
You get stopped by the cops, who are you then? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I think we pay more attention to the little, we share the same roots, we share the same identity, but then borderline, we're like, we start to nitpick. There's this group I know online now. It's called ASOS, I think, American Descendants of Slavery, Americans who are descendants of slavery, and they are trying to say that immigrants are trying to steal the jobs, or Afro Caribbean people are trying to take their job. They're not. So people who are African Americans should remain that way. They should call themselves a certain way because they are not African. And they have this whole thing. A lot of people are saying, just call me Black, period. I don't want to be anything else. Because when you refer to yourself as African American, I think the notion is you should have some sort of tie to the continent, which you do. Even if you don't know what it is, I think it's in that confusion that their identity lies, right?
Definitely. I totally agree. Someone said Black Americans, I believe we're all Black, but don't share the same culture. Exactly what you just said. Someone said I'm stolen. Someone says, I don't know, I'm Jamaican with African descendants. That's how I would say it. Wow, this is weird to read.
It is. I feel like there's stuff to say, but the people, America has F up Black people. In America mindset, see yourself as African and all your trouble are over. I mean, yeah, but then there's also that issue of, you know, the identity. You can't just call yourself African, because as African, the first thing you already know, they're gonna say what part. Because even as someone, sometimes when someone say, oh, I want to go to Africa, everybody says what part? Because if we're gonna say that it's not just one giant country, people identify with certain things. Because even me as a Liberian, they have about 15 different ethnic tribes. I can't even speak for the whole, just that country. So I can't expect someone to just say, okay, I'm African, that's it. Because then you're gonna be asked what part. But I think we get caught up in those divisions, though. That's where the problem is. Because it doesn't matter. A typical example was when Ghana opened their door for the year of return. And not necessarily everybody was going, not trying to be like they're from Ghana, but at least you had that connection. People went back and it was very emotional for a lot of people.
Definitely so for me. It definitely was. Definitely.
Do you want to share your experience, how that was for you and why that was emotional?
Yeah. Traveling made me use Black American more because everyone asks what part of Africa I'm from. And I never had an answer. Then people would argue with me, and I ain't have time for that. It doesn't matter where in Africa they came from. The mysteriousness of not knowing where in Africa I came from doesn't bother me.
It's true.
That's beautiful. It bothers me a little bit, and that's why I'm gonna tap into what we just talked about. I just know Africa is my roots. Okay. Thank you. I love all these comments. Okay, so to answer your question, so the first time, let's not talk about Ghana. So about 3 years ago was my first time to the continent. And I used to have dreams about going to the continent, but I did not know how I was going to go to the continent. Like my stepdad used to have me watching documentaries after documentaries of how we were stolen or stripped away from my identity. And it just was this hole for me. And I was like, I need to go, because what they're saying on TV, it can't be true. I just know how beautiful my Blackness is. It just can't be true. And so I was given the opportunity at my university. And I went with a group of white women. And that experience itself was heart-wrenching. Okay?
Yeah.
Because not only was I visiting the country that my mother was stripped away from, I was visiting with those who stripped me away from them. So that experience was, like, for instance, I will tell you why. So there was a time when I was in Tanzania and my brothers and sisters were taking me in. They was like, brother, sister, welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. They weren't getting that, right? And one of my peers was like, I just don't understand why you're getting all this attention. She literally said that to me. And I looked at her and I was like, are you serious? And my mouth dropped, because I'm used to not really saying nothing to that kind of stuff because of where I was raised in, you know? And so that experience happened, and then I went back and I was like, I gotta do something else. And then the situation that happened the last time I was in Tanzania, you guys just have to watch me YouTube, it was beautiful, but there were situations that I did not care for. And then when I went to Ghana, that just, to be there with so many people who are Black from around the world showed me that we can do this. Listen,
exactly.
we can do this. We can
Yep.
come together and love on each other. I literally was in Afrochella walking around telling people I love them and wanting to ask for hugs because it's just like, first of all, I'm from.
But that's devil advocate because I feel like it was a vibe, it was a trend, and I'm really hoping it wasn't because I know a lot of people who would not necessarily identify with the continent that was at Afrochella excited about it or that was excited about it because it was trendy, and that's where my problem come in because it's like, do you understand the significance of having Black people on the continent for the first time? People who ancestors left here in chains.
Yes.
I don't think that was as important as, oh, this is the place to be. It's like a concert. We're all just going to hang out. And that's what it is. The year of return, someone said the year of return was lit. And I think that's one step that the continent has put forward of saying, okay, we're welcoming. It doesn't matter if you don't know what part you're from. We're saying come home. Because this, we know at some point your ancestors were stolen from here or were forced to leave. And we're saying, come back home. So that's one step in the right direction. So for all the people who are still scarred from people telling you African booty scratcher, go back to your country and all that stuff, I feel like this is the time where people can be like, the opportunities await. It's no longer
healing. It's healing. It's having these kind of conversations so that we can understand where it comes from. Because at the end of the day, we were taught this stuff.
Exactly.
We were taught this stuff. Like, they will put Africans against each other to fight for their own entertainment. And now that's what
it still continues now. Now with all the inter-identity, I feel like that fight continues. All this, I'm not really black. I'm sort of Black. I'm actually this. I'm not really that. I feel like the more the division occurs, it take away from the beautiful part where for the first time in a very long time, a lot of Black people are not just saying I'm Black. You have all these groups of Afro-Latina, Afro-Brazil, like a lot of people are now very proud, even if they don't know the specific country or village they're from, they know they have roots to the continent. And let's not forget that the continent as it looks, all those borders was actually the colonizers dividing and saying,
Hello.
This is where, so even I'm saying, oh, I'm from Liberia, you're not from there, you're from Ghana. Even those borders were literally people sat at a conference and said, what part do you want? Exactly. And they said, you can have this. Exactly. All of those, except for two, Ethiopia and Liberia, were colonized by the French, the British. Up till now, you still see, even as Africans, I say I'm Anglophone African or Francophone African. That's how much we're still using labels of the colonizers.
Yeah. The labels of the colonizers. And that's what we have to stop. And the reason why we're doing that is because of ignorance. It's ignorance.
Because people don't even know. Because
we're gonna run with it and then be trying to talk about people and stuff like that. So it's just like, instead of running and saying, "Oh, they calling me this," ask yourself, like, why? Where does that stem from?
Right, but that's the
thing. And then do your history behind it.
Even the same colonizers that's doing a divide and conquer, at the end of the day, when they pull us, like I said, when the cops pull you over, you don't say, "Oh no, I'm Jamaican," so that doesn't. They see you as Black. Just the one drop rule. Like, it doesn't matter if your mother's white, you're Black.
This is in America. Oh, yes, definitely.
Exactly. So we're stuck in this bubble of being who the colonizers say you are. So you're saying I'm not African American because I'm something else. But then at the end of the day, you live in America. You get to deal with the same, excuse my French, shit that every other Black American is dealing with. So I just feel like, I don't want to say they hate groups, but some of the groups that have all these divisions, call it what it is. You're a migrant, you're African this, you're half of this. There's people who even say, like, what's her name? Kamala Harris. You're not Black enough because your mom is Jamaican or Caribbean. It's like,
you still Black. They still from, most likely they was from Ghana, okay?
I really don't understand the level of... How do you feel about DNA testing and people who do that?
I don't like it. I don't like it. I mean, I feel like I'm a search of where I'm from, but not to the point where I have to take a DNA test. I'm in a search where I want to go and visit, and I want to go and love, and I want to heal that area of my life instead of just having paperwork.
it sounds, you know, it sounds nice, but since, because we're doing realistic, we're being realistic. There's places on the continent, I'm pretty sure you can relate, where people are like, you're not African. Why are you calling you're Black American? Or, you know, there's people who wrote in and said, like, I've been to 5 African countries and I didn't feel welcome. I was always a stranger. There's people who went to Afrochella and said, like, I just don't feel like it's for me. I'm from maybe Georgia. That's it. I don't feel like I fit in. What do you say to that?
I tell them to dig deep. I tell them, where does that stem from and where that coming from? Because, for instance, I'll be honest, when I was in Ghana and I was with somebody on here, Morris, you're there, but I was in a car with him and some of his nephews and my cousin, and we got pulled over by the police. And the police searched us being African Americans more than they did the people from Ghana. And it was nuts. It was nuts, and it hurt. It hurt me so bad because it's like, damn, I get treated like this at home. And now when I go to a country and I want to feel like this is home, they're still treating me like an outsider.
Yep.
So it happens. It happens, but then I have to realize where that stems from. You know, I had to do the search, and I'm like, okay, in America, I'll get killed off for something like this. Yes, they searched me. They looked through my fanny pack. They looked through little pockets of my fanny pack and stuff like that. It was wild. But then I had to realize, like, this is because of what we went through.
But it's still two-way, you know, it's two-way. Just like people here thought Africa was huts and everything else and whatever booty strasher, whatever name they called, it's because of what they were told, what the media showed. If you're on parts of the continent, what you see Black Americans as is people who are drug dealers and music videos, like, so it's two-way. It's what you're fed. It's what people know what they know for what you tell them. And again, that's what this counter narrative, people like you and having a channel and talking about, okay, I'm African American, I went to the continent, I lived there, look at me living my life, this is what it looks like. Or me being like, okay, I live on the continent and life is not perfect, but I'm not gonna sit here and let you say it's all poverty and war and conflict. So I think it's this counter narrative that is sort of connecting us again in a way that people are seeing, because people went to Afrochella, came back and like, you know, Africa's lit, like we're going back again. And I like that. And I hope
it's more than that. It's not just like, it's more. It's more. And the thing is, like, follow my channel, you will see, like, when I travel, the way I travel is totally different than other people travel. I literally meet locals. I hang with locals in different areas and get to know my history. I'm not just going to party and get lit. I be there, like, for a whole month plus because I'm really trying to immerse myself. And there's different areas. There are lit parts. There are parts. But just like anywhere else, even in Seattle, the poverty rate out here, the people who are literally on the street, addicted to who knows what, from white to Black. We don't talk about that. And like when I was in the Gambia, and this white woman came up to me, and she was just like, yeah, what they said on the TV was a lie. And I said, yeah, definitely it was. And then she was like, but I mean, I still see it and stuff like that. I said, but do you not see that in your country? Do you not see that in Seattle? Like, I don't want to go there with you because I'm going to show out and I'm not.
But then it's like, who controls the narrative? If like I say all the time, if the hunter is going to tell the story, they're never going to say, oh, the lion won, because it's always going to be how you tell the story. So people have to say, and I say this, people who are on here from my page know, you have to paint Africa as poor, suffering, helpless, so that America can be what it is. We have to have good, so then everything else can look bad, you know? If nothing else, Corona have exposed that we're all in shit everywhere.
What?
Everywhere in the world right now has leveled to the same thing. Everyone is facing the same thing, because at the end of the day, you don't have the colonizer controlling the narrative anymore. People cannot get on a plane and go straight to Tanzania by themselves. You don't have to
it's like, I'm not saying that it's like it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, but there are times, or there's things that we everywhere. Like, I'm not even gonna say like everywhere. There's always something that we can be better. There's growing in every area of our life. Every country, but us only talking about the downfalls of a country isn't going to be.
But that's what it is.
But why we don't do that back in America? Why don't we do that when we go to Europe?
But I feel like
If you go to
That's
Texas,
why
street.
that's why Black Panther was such a hit, and Wakanda is like, oh my God, everybody, because it was such a perfect, scenario of this place that was not colonized and have all these resources and have all of this. Guess what? The real Africa that was colonized can offer just as much as you saw in there. But that's where I feel like people rather connect with fictional things than the real, because the reality hurts. The reality hurts.
No, it is so crazy because then people will get on my YouTube channel and I speak my truth. Like, that's my whole journey of Where Is Needed. It's my transparency journey. So I speak my truth about what happens in different countries, and I'll let you know. But then I'm very optimistic about it, where I'm saying this is what I see from it, and this is what I'm learning from it. So I go through me. But at the same time, people were upset. Like, when people were mad. It was like, you say this about my country, you should just stay there. And I said, I never said I didn't like Tanzania, or I didn't say I didn't like this country. Is that I'm speaking from my experience, and I'm not going to hide that. I'm not going to hide that because it's the truth. And your truth might be different than my truth, but doesn't devalue from my truth.
Exactly. And that's the thing. People don't want to accept that part. I feel like some, not all, some African Americans like this glam and beautiful part of Africa where we're all queens, we're all kings and uplifted. We all came from royalty. This is, like, hey, I see you, Black. I like that. I would like to uplift every Black person around the world. But in reality, where you were stolen from or where we all came from, there's some effed up stuff there. But that's the reality. But people would rather identify with this, I'm from this imaginary place that, superheroes and everything, and we have but I feel like if you just took the time to get to know your history,
your history, not everybody, your history. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. Somebody said, I think Black Panther was the first introduction of many African Americans to the continent. Wakanda is a case study of what Africa would look like without contact by the white man. Oh, I mean, don't get me started on colonizers today. Don't get me started.
Yeah. Listen.
But I feel like a lot of things would be different if it wasn't for the white man adventures, going to places and discovering or rediscovering places. But it is what it is. This is where we are now, and this conversation that we're having didn't happen when people were in middle school or other people. Like, for me, I came to the US in 2003. You would not, how many times I got told by Black people that look like me, what are you saying? Like, where are you from? Oh, Africa. Oh, you guys really have this out there? Like, it was almost like I had to be ashamed of who I was to my uncle, someone who looked like me, not the white person. So someone who looked like me, I had to overcompensate. When I said something, they tell you to say it again. I don't know what you're saying. Don't they speak English in Africa? And the whole continent. I remember this one boy really lied me and saying, don't they have a country in Africa called Niger? I was like, no, it's called Niger. And he was like, what? You don't know what you're talking about. There's a country. And he pulled up the map, and I was
he said, you don't know what you're talking about?
Yeah, he was like, and he pulled up the map, and I was like, wait a minute. Why am I arguing with someone who looks like me? But again, that's what people are taught. But I'm glad. Now, I don't want to say things are changing, because let's be real. There's people who are still adamant about not being called African American. There's people who they're like, I don't need to go. There's people who went and they're like, it's not for me. But at the end of the day, the fact that this sort of conversations are happening, people need to understand that we connect through our pain, right? I mean, people are hurt that you called me something before, or because it was out of ignorance. And now people are hurt too. There's even African-American, older African-American that I talk to, and they feel like they hate, not that they hate Africa, but they're mad at Africans because they feel like Africans played a role in them being here. There's some people in some places, like Senegal, and there's slaves in Tanzania and Ghana, as you know, a lot of other places, they say African-Americans didn't just get on the boat. There was Africans there that sold African-Americans to get over here. So there's people who have this resentment, but I feel like it's a two-way street. There's Africans who are saying, like, we've been through colonizations, we've been through all of this stuff with the white man, and you guys can't relate, so you're not African. And then there's African Americans here that are saying the worst treatment you can imagine, the Holocaust of Black people. You can't relate to that. And that's where I differ with a lot of people, because I feel like that paved the way for every other African in this, whether you're Caribbean, you're anything, African Americans, blood tears and everything else, they paved the way for me to be able to check a box that said African American or to vote.
Wow. Wow. And that's like, wow. I don't know what to say. Round of applause. Like, yes, that is amazing. Wow.
I mean, that's what it is. Whether we want to, you know, please talk about the narrative of Africans saying their ancestors wearing slaves. That is not true.
Well, she just said it. You tapped it.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who say that. They say their ancestors were not slaves and they are, you know, I think we get caught up in the minute details of identity that we forget that most of these identities were assigned to us by the colonizers. If we were only united in that to see like who you are, or it doesn't, you shouldn't have to let a white man tell you who you are because you're African American.
Wait. You should not let a white man tell you who you are. Period. And I'm going to be taking notes after this. She is preaching, y'all. Okay, keep going.
But it's true. Is that's what it is. That's what my experience has been. Because even people who are saying I'm Nigerian, I'm this, we know the continent was divided based on the colonizers, you know, decision on what and who. We know Africans, we know there's Black people in Jamaica because people decided to take people, you know, so we know that what unites us is this one common enemy.
So what is it again?
Colonizers.
So why are we doing that to each other?
So why we caught up in saying that's not who I am, that's who you are, and you know people are taking our jobs.
Yes. Okay. Well, we all struggling. Like instead of like figuring out us as a group, okay, what can we do to get out of this? How can we love each other more? How can we heal through this? Instead of sitting there and saying, oh, but you African, are you Black, are you this and this? Or no, I don't want to be a part. Why not? Now let's look at that history. Now let's get into your history. Now let's break these chains that was put on you. Like,
someone said, also let's be real. No one wins the struggle Olympics, and it doesn't feel like anything is a game by comparing atrocity. Exactly. You can't. People are mad because people didn't experience hardship. Why would you want people to do that? You can't say you can't identify with me because you don't know my struggle. Nobody wants to identify with your struggle. Your struggle is your struggle.
Wait, nobody wants. I wish I had a pen. I hope somebody's taking notes because I need y'all to see.
It's like
nobody wants to identify with your struggle.
No,
okay? What's the struggle with you?
No, we don't. Can we unite in like something that is not struggle? Like, why are we saying you didn't suffer enough to be called this? If the white man didn't do this, we wouldn't be suffering, period. Can we start there? That's where we need to be united. If people from the diaspora, just like people on the continent, if people on the diaspora was united against our one common enemy, this conversation will not be happening because you are called, first, there was a whole evolution. First, you were colored, and then you were Negro, and then you were just Black. Small b, then a capital B, because when Black
power came, then a capital.
Then you were cap. And then they were like, it's not politically correct to call you African American. Or I'm just NEVA. Can we just do that? Can you just call my name? Like, why are you exciting me all this?
I'm all, okay? I'm me. Okay, you're gonna get
why do I have to be
unapologetic about it? Okay?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes. And I know like people are still hurt because I went through a lot. People tell me like people now who slide in my DM and saying, can you send me a hair wrap? Can you get me a this? Or people who used to be like, I ain't African. Where are you from? I'm from Cape Verde. I'm like, but that's on the no, I'm not African. All right, cool. My mom is from Ghana. I'm American.
But it's like, why do you want to be American so bad? Like, what is they're killing us off. Like, I just don't understand. Why do you want this tie so bad?
Ooh, thank you.
Like, why are you holding on to this so much? Like, it's beautiful. I'm glad because of the history that I've, like, my ancestors and the resiliency. Yes, when I acknowledge that. But at the same time, do you not understand what they're doing to us to this day? What's going on in Corona? Do you not know how many people are dying that look like you and I? From this,
oh no,
talking about that. So why are you trying to hold on to this instead of look in and see the beauty in your skin? Okay, please.
Yeah. Someone just said, we're united by a common enemy, but as an African American, I've had Africans tell me to get over slavery, so it makes me question if we're actually in this together. I mean, again, all of this comes from a place of ignorance, because if someone would sit there and say get over slavery, it's not like slavery was not on the continent too. Let's you know.
Right.
So if someone's just gonna say get over it, isn't that the same language the colonizers use all the time that said get over it? So you know where this is coming from. When someone tells you just get over slavery, you know this person needs to be, one, educated. Two, you don't waste your time. You drink your water and you don't waste your time. Okay? Don't waste your time, because what's the point? I think at this level, with all the information that is available now, if you being ignorant is a choice. At this point, it's a choice. I'm not. That's why I stop arguing with people about Africa is not a country. I stop arguing. You don't argue with people because it's available. All the things me and you are saying right now, this is not hidden knowledge. We know the continent was separated on a plate. Like, we know what happened. This is not saying let's unite and blame the white man. No, we're saying let's unite and be who we are without the labels that was assigned to us by them.
It's open to healing and forgiving and loving, okay? Because that's the biggest. It's like when I was in at Cohost Castle, one of the tour guides asked us as African Americans, "It's like, why are you guys so emotional?" And I just was like, "Wait, you're a tour guide and you're asking." But
that's because
you know what, I love you. I love you, and that's all I'm going to say is I love you.
Yeah, and, but that's the thing when we talk about different. You can't force people into your struggle. Different people have different. I'm gonna let you live in your truth, and I can live in mine. You being over there living your truth is not gonna outshine mine. But people don't get that, and that's where the ignorance comes in. He works there, he gets his money, he goes home. He's not concerned about who he is, because the colonizer have assigned him a tribe, a place. Definitely. He knows his place in society and in life. Definitely. You, on the other hand, you grew up just saying you're just black or whatever else you were told. You're. And I hate when people say, I'm just black. That's it. No, you are black. That's not just black. Capital B, period. Okay? Black. The same black that you are in the favelas in Rio, the same black that you are in Colombia, the same black you will be in Senegal, you are black. And it's so funny because when you travel, that's when you start to see what unites us. I was in Jamaica, shout out to Jamaica, for Carnival last year. And so many things connect. You see our people doing things that I've seen my aunts and uncles do. And I look at it and I say, it doesn't matter what happened. Like there's a plastic bag, a black bag that people use back home that we call it mind your business. As in whatever's in the bag, you don't need to know. And then I was there and they were educating me and telling me, oh, we have that bag here. It's the same thing. Like they call it similar name. As in when people have stuff in there, then you know maybe the person, almost like a walk of shame bag. I was like, like there's certain things that we just connect with. It doesn't matter if you were born on the continent, you were removed from the continent 4 or 5 generations. Right. Who we are does not have to be dictated by, what the colonizers, what box you check. I feel like we're more than that box.
We don't fit in no box. Okay, let's read some of these comments.
Oh my goodness, this is a lot.
Exactly. Americans don't like your black asses. Lack of education, people don't know history. Yeah, yes, Africans do not understand fully the generation trauma African Americans have gone through. And vice versa too. African lived in slavery in Africa. So I've heard them say, get over slavery. Because years ago, Africans were laughed and insulted. Many people couldn't embrace who they are out of shame.
That's true. I'm saying, again, that's where the education comes in. I am over here and I'm going to say, I'm the first one to say, I was ashamed. You think I was running around with this head wrap and saying, when I was trying so hard, as we say, to speak my series, like I was trying so hard to fit in because I didn't want people, every time I open my mouth, they say, where are you from? And then I have to say Liberia, and then they don't know where that is. They say, where? Then I have to say Africa. And the way the conversation went was Africa. Oh, like it was not cool. I didn't want to be that. At the time, being Jamaican was cool. And anything else in the Caribbean was cool. But nobody wanted to be. And things are changing. Obviously, people, and I know it's hurt for people, especially Africans, to say, no, y'all don't. Now y'all want to be African. It's not cool. Every time on the Shade Room, every time you go in the comments, people are like, oh, y'all stop wearing our clothes. education is important because first of all, the print she's wearing in the print of my head is a Dutch print. It's not even African. Can we talk there?
Hello?
Do you see how much the colonizers got us?
Okay.
Yeah, that's how much the colonizers got us fighting people saying, don't wear our clothes. But it's not your clothes. Is this what you were wearing before the Dutch traders went to the coast of Africa? What were you wearing?
Yikes. Hello. Yikes.
So if another black person, that's people, you don't know how many people slide in my DM and like, is it okay if I want to wear African head wrap? Is that like, am I going to be appropriating and all this stuff? You black. That's why I say all the time. I'm like, only person my beef is with is colonizers and baby colonizers, period.
Baby colonizers.
No, because there's a different, I talk about this on my page, it's a different kind of colonization that's going on. There's people who go into the continent to help poor people. And there's people who are in these churches going to the continent, not to discover things. They're going to the continent to show you poverty. They're visiting just for that. When you know next door, they could be from Detroit and they would never speak to a black person. But then they will fly 2,000 miles to the continent to feed a little poor African kid. But that's a different story.
Hello, that's why what? Yeah.
So my point is,
talk about the colonization in America when it comes to Black Americans and Africans.
Yeah.
Mass incarceration. Think about the prison to school pipeline. Let's think about all that other stuff
that
you don't talk about. Talk about how they planted drugs in different places. Okay, so
thank you. And they're still doing
it here.
Talk about how all of a sudden
we're arguing about wrong.
It's nothing new. It's nothing new. I feel like our beef with Africans and African American, the beef would really be with colonizers and baby colonizers. Because it's like,
listen, we're not talking about the baby colonizer that went to the church and shot up the church in what was it, Charlotte, or a black church, a Baptist church? Like, we're not talking about that. But we gonna get mad about a whole different place, country like us. And be
people who look like us, and people at the end of the day, not until 2020 census, every census before had this one little box that says Black African American. What were you filling out? On paper, to the cops, to Uncle Sam, to everybody else, you are African American Black, period. And then when we meet in person at a parties or other places, all of a sudden you're like, we're different. I feel like the differences that we highlight all the time, it's what our biggest enemies is that we look too much at what makes us different, that we forget about what gets us, what unites us. You know what I'm saying?
Like when I went to Brazil and I seen so many people that look like me, I almost fell out.
Listen, that's another thing.
Yes, I was going to my university did not look like me. So when I go to Rio de Janeiro and they all look like me and they think I'm Brazilian too.
That's another thing people don't think about. There were more Black slaves that went, or Black people that were enslaved that went to Brazil than America. So you go to Salvador, there's more people, Black people everywhere. Period. And we're just this much in America, and we spend this much time pointing out who you are, what you do, and we're fighting, killing each other.
Listen, and then if we talk about where they're at, so in Brazil, the darker your skin complexion, the more poverty you're in. Like, what kind of, and we sit here arguing with each other?
It doesn't matter where we are.
We need to discuss. We need to literally be at a table trying to figure out how we all gonna build, how we gonna circleize this Black dollar, how we gonna love on each other, how we gonna heal, how we're gonna connect. We're gonna have these kind of conversations globally. Like, I'm not about to sit here and talk to you about why African Americans don't like Africans or why Africans don't like African Americans.
Exactly. And then someone's talking about like the picture of Brazilian. Every time you talk about Brazil, they only show this perfect, that like almost like this is not the people we know. And if you understand the same struggles that Black Americans are dealing with, the same struggle everywhere in the world, united by the hate against this one race. Do you understand that? Everywhere in the world, people are facing the same hate. People hate us. They hate our skin. They hate our everything. But they want it, though. They just don't want the struggle.
But they want it, though. Period.
they don't want the struggle, but they want...
They can't. They hate us. Okay? They hate us because they hate us.
And then all of a sudden...
We sitting here hating ourselves? They what? Like, we're so damn powerful. We're so damn powerful.
That's why they hate so much. That's why they hate so much. Because think about it. If just on the continent, if people on the continent was united, period, can you imagine how much power that is? That's why they had to divide and conquer. There's people who will sit here and tell you, I'm not African, I'm Caribbean, or I'm Portuguese. We have to have that division.
How rich Africa is, okay? What you mean? They are winning by colonizers. They're winning by us fighting against each other. Like, they're winning. We can't allow them to win.
They keep winning, and they will keep winning for as long as we live. And I feel like until we realize our strength in numbers, until we realize, people say all the time, like, you are this, you are that. It's not what someone call you. You want to write this down. It's not what someone call you. It's what you respond to.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? We are divided because of the colonizer. They call us Black, Negro, color, Afro this. Even the name Africa, I'm not going to start there, but we know where these things come from. They give us these names, these labels, because it was comfortable for them. They didn't have time to learn their history or things. But we now, as the next generation, the younger people who are flying into Coachella, Afrochella, the younger people who are not going and seeing things, going back to the year of return. You don't even have to be on the continent to feel the movement, the natural hair movement. People are loving ourselves more and more. We're saying no to a lot of things before, where we were like, you're not beautiful until your hair is silk pressed and long.
You see,
now people are going bald. People are wrapping their head. People are taking pride in who we are.
Period. And you gotta love that.
Unite,
okay, I mean, we've been going on the road. We've been forgetting about
I'm so sorry.
Okay,
you got me started.
It's okay. This is what we're here for. Right. A guy said my friend was better looking once he found out that she was Cuban and not Black. Like, what? Ignorance. But wasn't the term African American coined by a Black American? I'm not exactly sure.
Someone said African American, please stop buying those made in Asia African shirts.
Listen, colonizers always be discovering. Discovering, okay?
Oh, we know. Like your boy Christopher Columbus. He just be like, I found it. He'd be like, it's mine though. I already lived here. He'd be like, nope, I found it.
I'm Liberian and my husband's Mexican, and we share a lot of culture similarities. I think we as minorities need to recognize our similarities more than our differences. Definitely so. I agree, but in a way. I feel like it's deeper than that. I feel like we are so oppressed in our own right that we have healing to do within our own right before we can sit there and connect.
Where do you think that healing can start? I feel like a lot of things, healing starts with knowledge, like knowing certain things, then people can understand. But I feel like we don't know. A lot of people don't know, and even I don't know. And we're still learning, but people are not acknowledging that. We rather claim things like Wakanda and other things than to acknowledge, yes, I'm from Africa somewhere, I don't know where, but I can connect with Black people on the continent because we share history.
Definitely. And I could talk about my healing process. So my healing process is really big with forgiving. So forgiving and healing is tied in the end. So I understand that I don't know. But I forgive that I don't know. I forgive myself and I forgive the history that I do not know. I understand that I may not know the country I'm from. And I'd rather not get a DNA test to get a DNA to know where I'm from because I understand that. But where I'm so comfortable in my own being and I'm working towards that and I'm very transparent towards that I'm open to going to different countries on the continent and saying, hey, I'm here. Teach me. I'm not going to teach you. Teach me how to love myself even more. Teach me things that I don't know. Teach me and let me find the similarities. And I deep reflect. And then I understand that. Learning comes and healing comes from within. It doesn't come from out. It does come from learning different things. But you have to ask yourself those questions. Who am I? Where am I from? What do I look like? Where did this come from? Where did this stem? What is this emotion? Why am I feeling this way? Where is this hurting at? You know, and even if you don't have a passport, there is so much technology out there that you can research. There's so much things. You can go to the library, not now, but you can go to the library and do some Google search of like, what does Tanzania really look like? Oh my gosh, there's so many people like me that are doing this type of work. There are. Like,
Yes.
Wodemaya, follow his channel. He is literally talking about how to heal Africa. Okay, and there's another woman, I think she goes by ES. I'm not sure. Please comment with her. But there's a whole bunch of YouTubers that are showing the truth, that are Black American or from Africa, that are showing that. So, or African American, whatever you decide. But it just, it's there. It's there, baby. And we
There.
we got to open learning.
Yeah, I think to learn, people, like you said, it comes from within. Someone has to want to learn. It can't be forced upon you, because again, there were knowledge that was forced on us. Like when you go to school, Black history starts with slavery, and that's not true.
Not true.
But that's what is forced on us. So it depends on where you're getting your knowledge, but you have to want to know beyond what is forced on you. You're gonna have to go a little further, push a little further. It's just like if I only watch CNN, I'm only going to get one side of the story. If I only watch Fox News, or if I only, like, that's what I'm being fed. If I want to see a different picture of Africa, if I want to see the Africa that I think deserves to be seen, I have to make that. Or everybody else, like you talked about, that is now on the continent and going and showing and seeing these things, have to be able to do that. If African Americans want to identify with the continent and decide to start by wearing wax spray, that's a start, because now you are identifying. That's where Black Power and you know, the Back to Africa movement, it started somewhere.
Definitely.
If Ghana opens their door and say, hey, doesn't matter where you're from, if you're Black and you want to come back, this is the year of return. Before Corona messed it up, people are going back and trying to connect somewhere.
Definitely.
We have to find a way to connect beyond just the hurt, beyond saying, you know.
But then at the same time, I want to add, you have to love the hurt. You have to love the hurt. You have to love your differences. And you got to understand your hurt makes you who you are today. Literally. And that's beautiful. That is beautiful. What Zuleka been through makes her who she is today. And she wouldn't be who she is to have this conversation if it wasn't what she's been through. Yeah. Same me. And that makes me beautiful. And we are going through the process and the steps to love those areas. And that's why she's open to sharing that with you, so that you are able to have that conversation. But it's for her to be transparent about it. I'm hurting. I'm loving this. I love saying that hurts.
Yeah. And I say all the time, I post and I joke about it all the time, but I was bullied in America mostly by Black people than baby colonizers, period. Most of my people saying, where you from, why you talk like that, making fun of me, do they have zebras where you live, all that stuff, because that's what Black people are fed. That's what they know. And that place come out of ignorance. I have to be who I am now and look back and say, you didn't know. It's my job now to show you it's not zebra. I didn't see zebra until I came to the zoo here. So I need to be able to say, listen, this is what you thought you knew. This is what I'm going to tell you now. So you can have both information. It's up to you. If you want to be ignorant, this is a choice. And I'm not sitting here going to say, everybody get on the plane, go to Africa. That's the only way you can connect. The history of people and places are right here at your doorstep. There's an African community everywhere now that you turn. I live in Christiansburg, Virginia, which is closer to West Virginia, which is like middle of nowhere. Okay? But there's Africans everywhere. Or just get online on the internet right now. There's 33 people on this live that's listening to us. That's like a whole classroom. That's more than a university classroom.
Yes, that's people coming here and learning. I love it. I love it. I love it.
That's enough.
I see comments. I'm sorry. We gonna get to them, but yes.
That's what I feel like. If you don't get anything out of this life, the thing is, we are not when united. There's power in numbers. That's just, you know, people say that all the time, but think about how much this movement of Back to Africa, how much stronger we got. People are wearing their natural hair. People are wearing prints now. Everybody's going to the continent. Everybody's like so Black. Like people are everything hashtag just melanin this. Like we've literally took back this identity of being like, oh, dark skin. Before people are like, you're pretty for a dark skin girl. Now people are just everywhere embracing everything that makes them who they are. So I think like you said, the first step is accepting the hurt. Moving past that is knowledge. Educate yourself. Then at this point, when you already know what's right and wrong and you are choosing to do that, that's at that point, you know, we don't argue with fools. That's just I drink my water, mind my business, and it's up to you.
And my thing is, nobody can make fun of you if you accept your truth. Period. If it's your truth and you accept it, nobody, like, I can go and like, oh, you African. Okay, yeah, I am. So, like, what are you trying to say? Duh. Like, when you accept that, nobody can make fun of it. The reason why it's not
Someone
typical,
said
so this is how it
Africans
is.
Africans sold black people. That's what we've been told. So a lot of people in effing with Africans in Africa. Again, that's what we've been told. That's what was told upon us. And it's not to say we don't know about our history. We know that people didn't just, poof on a boat. People are sold, yes. But are we going to hold on to that history and say we're going to hate people who now live in Africa because you were sold? Slavery existed on the continent way before this kind of slavery that happened here. That's not what was happening. People had slaves that was a different kind of slavery.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot of different, but again, you know this because you've took upon yourself to educate yourself, which is great. No. But you can't hold on to the past. If you really want to move forward, you can't keep saying that. Like, you can't say people don't appreciate who we are, so I'm not gonna, at the end of the day, when you get pulled over by the cops, who are you? Just ask yourself that. You can be whatever you want to be. That's your business. But when we're getting killed left and right every day by the same people. They all look the same. They're not over here saying, oh, he's Italian, so that's a different kind of colonizer. Oh, he's French, so he's a different kind of colonizer. Black people everywhere in the world is getting killed by the same people. They all look the same. So I feel like we know who our enemy are, but we're too busy tearing ourselves down that we can't see who our common enemy, that we don't see it.
Definitely. People are scared to take the first step. Yeah, it's that first jump. And it's okay because there's conversations like that allows you to do that together. And
yes,
we continue to have these conversations with those around you. They can take the leap with you. But it's just accepting and loving all our differences because you're beautiful. You're beautiful.
Exactly. And I really, if someone said inform yourself, just don't go with what you're told. Exactly. People need to just find information for themselves. The internet is a great place, but there's a lot of BS on the internet. People can just like get on and do whatever and say whatever and push whatever information they want. We just have to be able to push back on information that we're not sure about, verify information. And the number one thing is, who's telling the story? If a colonizer is going to tell you who you are, of course he's going to start your story with you being a slave so that you can feel like dehumanized, so you don't feel like a person, so that you are belittled. And it's in belittling you, he's pushing himself up. So if you tell your own story, then you can rise above that. Now you know
your story heals. Okay, someone says I'm full of hurt that fueled my fire to learn who I am.
Yeah, we have 5 more minutes. So I hope people, if they have more questions or comments, they can keep it coming.
And we are grateful for all the compliments. We do see that, and we love them. We love all this interactive. Listen, we didn't know we would be in here spitting.
Yes. This is
saving this. So yeah,
this is a long conversation, long overdue. We've been having conversations. Definitely. Most times people send stuff to me, I send it back to her. She sends stuff to me. We have conversations. But I thought it was a bigger conversation than just saying who you are. As sometimes if I find myself caught up between the two worlds of saying, oh, I'm African, and then say because I am American by paper, but it doesn't matter. That's where I grew up. That's where I've experienced a lot of the struggles with Black America and a lot of the struggles with Africans on the continent. And I feel like in between that hyphenation is where my history is. And I'm not gonna apologize for who I am or for not experiencing certain struggles. We're not united by just the struggles. There's also our success too that we can
connect with. You learn it. Okay, so it's 1 minute and 30 seconds. If you have any questions, feel free. I don't know. Yeah, feel free to look at our content first before you ask our questions, and then if you have questions beyond our content, then
yes.
But make sure you support it in that way because we do put stuff out there for you all to see and not to ask the same questions. Because I love you.
Yes, exactly. So thank you guys for joining. I appreciate people who reposted the flyer, who've been excited about this. I hope I covered things that people sent and wanted to talk about. thank you again for allowing me to have a conversation with you, my sister.
Thank you. And I love you all so very much. And I hope this healing happens. If it didn't happen in the past, happens today, because we can do it. And you are beautiful. You are fully capable and knowledgeable to do anything you put your mind to. And I promise you that. So keep on pushing. Keep on being you, beautiful, on this other side of the screen. I think I'm on top. But yes, Zuleka, thank you. And
thank you guys.
Amazing. And thank you for your time. All right, beautiful people, we love you, and we will talk to you very soon.
Okay.
All right. Wasn't that amazing? Yo, I thought it was so dope. It was great. It was great. It was a much needed conversation. So I challenge you all to continue to heal, continue to love, and continue to bridge the divide, because we all we got, family. Africans globally. I love you. Bye. Where is NEVA? Where is NEVA? Where is NEVA? Where is she? Where is she?